Hi everybody, welcome to the show. Hello everyone, my name is Amanda. Welcome back to our channel, Raising A to Z. Today we have an interesting topic coming up and it was inspired by two separate Facebook posts. We saw this post and it kind of got us thinking. First off, is this person serious or is this like a humble brag post? And so the mother who had gone onto one of the homeschool Facebook pages had posted something along the lines of, I have a 2-year-old, we've been homeschooling since they were in the womb with like Mozart on the belly kind of thing. And I'm just concerned we're not doing enough. See, he speaks 3 languages. He reads and writes small words and can read small books. He counts to 100. He knows all of his colors, 3D and 2D shapes, not just 2D, 3D. He knows all of those provinces of Canada. We study history and geography 3 times a week. He does music lessons and plays both the ukulele and the piano, but I'm just concerned we're not doing enough. We kind of laughed because we're like, is this person serious or is this one of those things where they're just waiting for people to say, oh no, your kid is so advanced. Oh, it's so wonderful. So it kind of made us laugh. But then on the flip side, the next day we saw a question come up on the same group of a mom who had asked a very honest, concerned question of, my friend's kids are the same age as mine, and they, her son can read small words. He, can count to 15 in 2 languages. My kid doesn't even know any letters and he's 3. Is my kid behind? Should I be doing more to get my kid, should my kid be able to read going into kindergarten? Should they know how to count to 100 going into kindergarten? And so when you have these 2 different things, we thought, because it came up 2 different posts within basically a couple of days of each other, we thought maybe we would talk about this a little bit and what are realistic expectations for preschoolers and kindergartners? Because it does seem to be a big area of debate for a lot of people. What should kindergartners be doing on a regular basis? What should they be able to do? What are real expectations that they should have? So when I'm talking about kindergartners, I'm going to specify ages because in North America, in Canada where we live, kindergarten starts, they have to be 4 before December 31st of that school year. Just to give you guys, age guidelines, they have to be 4. So I know kids who are going into kindergarten and their birthdays are on December 27th. So they're 3 for the first almost 4 months of school. So we're going to give you an age guideline here that kindergarten, when I'm saying kindergartners, all these expectations that we're talking about would be by the end of kindergarten, because here in Ontario, we have a 2-year kindergarten program. So by the end of kindergarten, so before kids go into grade 1, which means basically 5, their whole year of 5 and under. These are kind of by the end of that age, they should be able to do these things. We say that because some kids are going to pick up something really quickly, really early on. Some kids are going to pick it up later, and that's okay. But we want to give you kind of by the time they would be going into grade 1 or 6, give or take, here's some realistic things that your child should be able to do. Before we go into those things, I want to talk about a couple things. First off, when you're talking about preschool and kindergarten, the emphasis on preschool and kindergarten should be on play and exploration. Studies have shown that exploring and playing in kindergarten, especially in preschool and kindergarten, is number 1, the best way for them to learn or pick up any new skills or ideas or knowledge. And B, it gives them the tools and the skills they need to master skills later on. So really your big focus should be on fun, play, and exploring new things. Now, that being said, you'll see people who are like, oh, no workbooks. There's a place for workbooks. If your kid really takes to something, follow their lead, and there's nothing wrong with a workbook as long as it's not they must do it all the time, every day, for massive amounts of time. For example, Alexi started off really into her letters. She was really into letters. We found a fun printable pack off of Teachers Pay Teachers that she loved. It had some tracing. It had things where we would get her to stamp, identify the letter of the week, and she loved it. And so we did that kind of, one page or two of these little, pages where there was coloring and stamping and stuff, probably twice a week. She loved it. Now she's kind of moved into math and has really taken off on her numbers. She really prefers numbers over letters, which is fine. And she has a workbook and she has plowed through it. She's plowed through a kindergarten book already. She's now onto a grade 1 book. But again, that's following her lead. I actually have to cut her back on the pages because if I let her, she'll do 15 pages in a row. But the idea here is that she is in control of this. She only wants to do 1 page. I might suggest it, but she only wants to do 1 page. We only do 1 page. If she wants to do 4 or 5, then we do 4 or 5. But it's not, there's no pressure and it's at her pace. And recently we found she's kind of started to want to do more letters. So we've been pulling out letter magnets and she's had her favorite notebook and her little pink marker and pink pencil, and she's been off writing letters all over the place. And she's actually recently taken to writing her name. She's figured out how to write her name on everything. So again, if you're doing lots of play and exploration and you're following their lead, there's not really any need to push them further. We live in a society where early literacy especially is really pushed on kids, that they need to be able to read and write by the time they're 4 or 5 or 6. They need to be able to do these proficiently and completely and be incredibly fluent in literacy. There's no evidence that early literacy actually benefits children. Actually, research out of the University of Chicago shows that kids who read at 4 have no advantage over kids who learn to read at 9 once they get into, upper grades, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. There's no benefit. So pushing your kids to learn how to be fluent proficient readers at 4 does not do them any benefit in the long-term things. When I was in university at Teachers College, I had my literacy professor. He actually was a homeschooler, so he homeschooled his kids. And the irony of that, I always laugh that he was a teacher teaching teachers who homeschooled his own kids. But he actually was saying the average age for most kids to learn to read is about 7. Most of them start to really pick it up between the ages of 5 and 9. So if your kid isn't reading at 3, that's okay. They're still totally on the spectrum of being able to read. And just because they read a little bit later does not mean that they will be any way handicapped by that in the long term of their life. And actually putting too much pressure on kids at a young age can be really detrimental for their love of learning and for their own mental health. Sometimes, it can add too much stress to their life and anxiety that they aren't keeping up. And part of the reason that we homeschool, and a lot of people homeschool, is to really help their kids live healthy, happy lives. And really, so there's really no need to push your kids to do things that they are just not physically or mentally ready to do. Now that I've gotten all that out, I'm going to go over a couple things that by the end of kindergarten, again, by the end of age 5, these are things that your child should be able to do on their own without really pushing the boundaries of what should be an expectation for them. Psychologically, they should be able to do these things. They should have the mental and psychological capacity to do these things by themselves and well. So they should be able to count up to 20 if they're doing 1 language, up to 10 if they're doing 2 languages. So for example, we are a bilingual household. By the end of kindergarten, Alexi should be able to count to 10. That would be a realistic expectation, to be able to do it to 10 in both languages, or 20 in 1 language. They should be able to know their colors. They should know red, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, black, white, brown, gray. That's a realistic expectation, that they should be able to identify colors. Bonus if they can figure out how to mix red, yellow, and blue to make green, orange, and purple. They should understand the basic value of money, in that things cost money, and that certain, whether it be coins or dollars, are worth more than others. Not that they know the names of them, not that they know how much they're worth or how to earn it, but they should be able to know that, certain things cost more, certain things cost less, and that we use money to pay for them, and different coins or dollars, equal different amounts of value. Very simple. They should have a basic concept of time. So by time, I don't mean that they need to be able to tell time, but that they understand that a minute is smaller than an hour, which is smaller than a day. Pretty simple. One that I think a lot of people are surprised that I would suggest is they have the ability to memorize something. Whether that be like nursery rhymes, simple songs, Bible verses, lyrics from a song, a scene from a show. If they can do that, it actually shows that they have really good memory retention, and so that they're able to take something, see it, hear it, and process it and put it into their memory stores. So it's actually a really good skill for them to have. So the fact that they can do that to a certain extent, whether, like I said, if it's singing nursery rhymes, row, row, row your boat by themselves without you telling them how to do it. If that means they're singing Let It Go at the top of their lungs for the 40th time today, then you're on the right track. Another thing they should be able to do by the end of kindergarten is to sit and listen to a small story. For example, a picture book. It's a really good skill for them to be able to do on a regular basis. Reading should be something that you do often. One of the best things you can do for your kids. But to have that ability to sit, to listen to a story, to look at the pictures, and bonus if they can kind of like do a picture walk. Which, if you don't know, a picture walk is basically looking at the pictures and saying, oh, here's 3 little pigs. Oh, here in the next picture, they built 3 houses. Turn the page. Here's the pig. This wolf came and blew down this pig's house. Oh, the wolf came and blew down the other house. Like figuring out what the story is just by looking at pictures, the rough story, bonus. What else should they be able to do? By the end of kindergarten, they should be comfortable exploring different art materials. So using different things like markers, pencils, crayons, paint, that they feel comfortable picking it up and writing on paper, and they have basic understandings of things like we only paint paper, not walls that have not had permission, things like that. Those would be really good expectations for a kindergartner. Other things, now getting into literacy expectations, because this is a big one. Everyone wants to know what literacy expectations my kids should be able to do. By the end of kindergarten, they should be able to sing the alphabet. I think that's pretty simple. And they should be able to identify a few letters. If they can do 3 to 5 letters and they know like, hey, oh, that's an A, and oh, that's a T, or that's an H, you're doing great. That they can identify their own name written is usually a really good thing. And that they can identify in a picture book that there are words, and that they can read, identify that the words go from left to right? And the other thing that should be able to do is hold a writing instrument and make marks on paper. So consistently. So if it's loops, they can make loops. They can write lines up and down, zigzags. That is realistically what kindergartners should be able to do by the end of kindergarten. If you are concerned that your kids are not meeting these expectations, what can you do? The first thing I would recommend is that you explore and introduce. So introduce your kids to new ideas, new things, new materials, new experiences, new places, and while you're doing those things, let them explore it. So don't sit down and just tell them this is how we use this item. Let them figure it out. That is one of the best things that you can do, is let them just play with it, see how it works, see how it fits in their hands, and figure out how they can use it themselves. So let kids introduce new ideas, new concepts, find fun ways to introduce them, and let them explore them on their own. Free play is super important when it comes to little kids. They really need that. Like I said, introduce, explore, follow their interests where it's possible. If they really take an interest to dinosaurs, time to do everything dinosaurs. Read about dinosaurs, count dinosaurs, talk about the colors of the dinosaurs, sing songs about dinosaurs, and draw dinosaurs, and do everything dinosaurs. If they're really into wanting to learn their numbers like Alexia's, maybe it's time to grab a little workbook from, Costco or your local bookstore and let them practice writing some numbers. Like, there's nothing wrong with it if they're interested. Don't feel the need, don't push them. But then the last thing I would recommend to do if you're concerned about any of this is read. Reading is one of the greatest things you can do with your kids. Reading aloud and reading everything. So whether you're reading picture books, that's always great. I know everyone thinks when they talk about reading is sitting down, putting a kid on their lap and reading a picture book. There's also great benefits to, like, if they're playing Lego on the floor, picking up a book and reading it aloud to them, even if it's not a picture book. So for example, maybe you're reading, I think, what's on my shelf right now? Oh, maybe you're reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and your kids are sitting there playing Lego, and you read them a chapter of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory while they're playing. They're still hearing it. It still makes their brain work. It still helps them pick up sounds and letters and ideas and new words. Read aloud and read everything. You'd be surprised at what kids will be the first things that they pick up on reading. It's rarely a book. It's often things like cereal boxes, food at the grocery store, signs while you're out shopping, their favorite clothing labels. Alexi knows how to read Old Navy. Not because it's a word we read often, it's just because she likes to go shopping at Old Navy. If you're exploring reading and just having fun with your kids, I will probably be okay by the end of kindergarten. Don't rush it. Don't succumb to the stresses that you will see of other people. Your kids, as long as you're giving them the time and attention they need to meet their potential, they will be okay. Giving them lots of opportunities to explore and to really follow what they're interested in, they will naturally gain the skills they need to be confident in their lives. So there you go. Those are the expectations that are realistic for the end of kindergarten. I hope that you guys feel that this is actually very doable and that you realize there is no need to really push your kids. They will learn what they need to learn in their lives naturally through play and through just being home with you and doing lots of reading and activities that they enjoy and following their interests. So if you like this video and other videos like it, please subscribe, click the bell to get notifications, and make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where we post tips, tricks, follow our lives, and you can also sign up for our newsletter. So we'll put that link down below, where we send off a lot of cool information and cool ideas on a regular basis. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.